Okay, good morning everyone from Eastside High School, Eastside Radio. Here we're going to talk about the 4 P's for this show, the 4 P's of marketing. And we have as a special guest, Mr. Mike Jackson, who's the owner of Jacksonville Restaurant in Patterson, New Jersey. Let's have a round of applause for Mr. Mike Jackson. Okay, now before we start the interview process with Mr. Mike Jackson, we want to go over the 4 P's of marketing. Now, so for those that have never taken marketing, the 4 P's of marketing are product, price, promotion, and place. The product has to be good if it's to sell. If you want to sell on a product, the product has to be good. Of course, the price has to be good. Promotion has to be good, and place, where you find the product. So these are the 4 P's that we cover in marketing. Some other students cover 7 P's, but that's a whole other topic. But for now, we'll stick with that. Okay, now we're going to turn it over to, we're going to start the interview process with Mr. Mike Jackson, the owner of Jacksonville Restaurant. Now for now, I want you to introduce yourself and explain what product and service you sell.
My name is Mike Jackson. I'm a lifelong Pattersonian. I've been here for 40 plus years. I've opened up a restaurant after playing professional football for a few years. So I opened up an establishment on Grand Street called Jacksonville. It's my place, and people come from all around to experience what we have to offer. And 4 P's of marketing is a very good point to touch on because it's a lot of what I have to focus on in marketing and promote my business every day. So, the product at Jacksonville is, you can ask my brother Cash over there, is fantastic.
Yes,
the product is fantastic. In my opinion, it's moderately priced, and promoting it and the place has been our challenges, but we've overcome those challenges for 10 years now we've been in business.
Oh, great. Oh, good. Now, quick side note, I've been wanting to visit you, but I'm always in Brooklyn. My girlfriend lives in Brooklyn. I'm there every weekend, but I told her, listen, when you come down, we have to visit Mike Jackson in Patterson. But okay, now, how did you get your start in the restaurant business?
Well, while playing football, my last stint was playing here in New Jersey for an arena football team, and I was purchasing properties. So the property that the building was in, I bought it back then. I never had no intention of becoming a restaurateur. So the point of that is, you never know where life's path will lead you. So you have to prepare for all things. So being an entrepreneur, a business owner who owned properties, I had a deficit where the property was vacant for a number of years. I decided to repair it, fix it, and maybe look for a potential renter or buyer, and there you go, Jacksonville was born. So it was a kind of mistake. I stumbled on the business, and it became something that people travel for 2 hours to come into Patterson to see.
Look at that. Now, you just touched on something that my economics students would love this. You talked about great real estate. Now, for those that take an economics or have it, the real estate business is a good way that you can buy real estate, and if the product appreciates, you get a home equity loan on the property, and then you can pretty much chase your dreams like you did. Okay, so pretty much then you went into the restaurant business. Okay, now why did you pick the city of Patterson out of all places to start your business?
I mean, what better place to be? Patterson is where I'm from. I'm born and raised here. I came back here actually during the time I was playing, because I was right here playing at the Meadowlands Arena. But the real estate that I required was in Patterson, and it just happened to fall in place that way. But I mean, it's a rewarding feeling for me because I'm here, I'm at home, I know everyone, people know who I am. I am in the process of opening up another establishment in Newark, but again, it's not home. So in spite of the vision or the bad reputation that Patterson might get in the news, for me, it's not, I don't perceive it that way. It's still home.
Exactly. Now, I just want to add on that, as far as the product that he sells, now correct me if I'm wrong, he doesn't just sell food, you sell like the ambiance is beautiful. It's like the experience.
Jacksonville is an experience, exactly. So we do live entertainment. I've had some of the biggest names in entertainment come to my place, from Tommy Davidson, David Allen Greer, Tony Rock, what's a little short comedian, what's his name, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, really?
Yeah. And then, you know, some special musical guests, like there's a young brother who, he's local, he's from the local area. He's 24 years old, his brother has about 25 Grammys. He's done songs like Flashing Lights, Trey songs, you know, his name is, I can't recall his name right now. It come to me.
Would you guys know? Because I'm old school. I don't know any of the new guys.
He's actually a behind the scenes kind of guy, man. But you know, my point in that matter is, you know, to the young people that's here, there's a lot of opportunity out here. It's not just, you know, one or two things. It's not only sports. It's not only just going to school. You know, your work ethic is right and it's there. I mean, you can make a very good living doing things that you love to do.
Exactly. Oh, very good. Okay, and then as far as, okay, now we spoke, how does your business fit the 4 Ps? Now, as far as the product, like I said, I define the product from what I've seen a couple of times I've been there. It's a great product, but you're not just kind of the food in front of you, you're kind of the ambiance, beautiful ambiance. Now, as far as promotion, what do you do as far as promotion?
Well, up until now, for the past 10 years, we've done limited promotion, marketing. We've done some social media stuff. We've done a lot of word of mouth promoting. But, you know, we've been very, you know, the past few years, we've been getting a lot of phone calls. Black Enterprise Magazine is featuring us in next month's issue. WBLS, they have 2 air personalities that come once a month. You know, his brother is late night radio. Some of you guys might even know who he is. He's an old school guy, Lenny Green. So he does the Quiet Storm. He does he's the lover's man of radio. And then we also have Euless from WBGO jazz station. He's coming in doing some things. So we're doing a combination of radio, TV, and print. So to, you know, market and promote the business. And you know, those are the 3 main methods of advertising and promoting at this point. But you know, everybody knows it's social media. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, and you know, you're gonna make a tremendous impact just in that social media arena alone.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. So even aspiring DJs or rappers, nowadays you have to have Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, you know. Now your man, I just found out he's an aspiring DJ. So we're going to talk about that later because he's going to take over the show. Okay, that's good. So that's what you do with the promotion there. Okay, good. Now as far as, I know you mentioned most of your startup money came from real estate. But as far as bank loans or government loans, let's say for any aspiring entrepreneurs, whether it's in the restaurant business or any other business anyone desires, do you know of any, like as far as government programs the city of Patterson has? I know there's like a 3% thing, right?
The 3% thing, that's more of a tax incentive that they offer in urban areas where if you have a business in an urban setting, you can offer a reduced tax rate to a lot of customers, so customers receive that benefit. Unfortunately, as a restaurant, I don't receive that benefit. Restaurants don't fall into that category. But you know, you guys see that Home Depot, Lowe's, and stuff like that.
Oh, to attract the bigger business.
Yeah, to attract, you know, a consumer-based customer. But you know, it's very important. You know, is in terms of being an aspiring entrepreneur. For me, there is no other way but to work for myself. Like I have to make my rules, make my guidelines, and you know, some of the challenges with that coming up in Patterson. You know, I think we all, you know, deal with the same circumstances. Some of us may be slightly different, but we all have very similar circumstances. We don't have trust funds. We don't have parents who have, you know, huge bankrolls that's going to set up businesses up. So, you know, we got to be aware of, you know, some of the lending sources. You know, banks offer a lot of, you know, incentives to young entrepreneurs, as well as there's some grant programs available. You know, in Patterson, they offer a startup grant for like $10,000. You know, which in the real world, $10,000 doesn't stretch you that far, but you know, it's a start. You can get a business plan going. So, you know, for me, my advice to a young entrepreneur would be, one, your work ethic has to be one of non-stop vigor. You know, you have to be willing to put in, you know, an enormous amount of work And then you also got to be able to set yourself up. You gotta make sure you're doing the right thing with your credit, you know, because that's one-on-one. Your credit score is not there. You need a few things to be able to obtain a loan. You need credit, you need collateral, and then you need to have, you know, one of your P's in marketing. You need to have the product. So the banks, they're going to look at all three of those items and see if you're a worthy candidate.
Exactly. They just add on, yeah, finances, that's where the credit comes in, because no matter what, most of the time that's the first thing the banks look at, definitely. Okay, now as far as the vision of Patterson, let's say in general, let's say you could pretty much, you could mold the way you would like a scene, you know, outside of Jacksonville. Like I said again, I've been to Jacksonville, that's one of the nicest restaurants around the area. So like, what would you envision Patterson going, as far as the whole restaurant entertainment scene?
Well, the model for my business wasn't necessarily Patterson driven. It's a model that I've, you know, through my years of traveling around the world, it's things that I know that culturally Patterson has a connection to, but you know, we try to broaden it so it's marketable to everyone. And that's part of what we, you know, some of the success stories that we've had. We get people who come in from all over the place. You know, very few businesses in Patterson can say that. You know, we've been noted as one of the top businesses in the state of New Jersey. So, you know, part of what we do is we provide the experience, the food, the atmosphere. But my vision is really to have a beautiful place that people of color and, you know, of all different national denominations can come in and enjoy a positive atmosphere that's festive, you know, because many of our events, you know, often end in tragedies, fighting and shootings and things of that nature. But we're actually the only business in the city of Patterson that owns a liquor license that has never had any 911 calls, any incidents. We don't have fights at Jacksonville. So
Yeah, commendable to say.
yeah, I mean that's something I'm real proud of.
Okay, now I want to turn it over to some questions from our student panel here. Now, raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, and yes, be nice and loud.
What motivated you to start the business?
Well, motivation, I think, for me, is something that you just have to be motivated. So whatever it is, if it's school, if it's sports, you know, I'm telling my son every day, like how, you know, you gotta be driven. So when I opened my business, I was motivated more or less to just get something off the ground. And as the business developed further and further, the motivation changed. But, you know, you have to figure out a way to, you know, be able to motivate yourself to begin with before you even get started with it. I'm gonna tell you, owning a business is a lot more work than working a job. I don't care where you work. When you own a business, it's almost a 24-hour job. So, and you never get paid the value. But let me say never, because I'm sure some people get paid more than what their business is doing. But for me, from my experiences, you don't really make initially what you set after. So you gotta be motivated, you gotta be self-motivated.
Yeah, you come from inside. Like as he said, entrepreneurs, it's not 9 to 5. You know, you're on call 2 in the morning, something happens, you're there.
That's it.
You know. Okay, definitely. Any other questions?
What skills were you looking to for somebody to apply for a job?
That's a very good question. For me, considering like how I started my business, one, I knew nothing about the restaurant business, and now I'm the head chef at my place, and I've never drank before. I've never, you know, I don't drink vodka and cranberry and things of that nature, right? But guess what? I'm the head bartender at my place. I know how to make everything. So when I look for people who to come in and work for my place, I don't necessarily look for skill sets. I just look for people who are driven, motivated, people who want to learn. Like I have a firm belief that I can teach anyone as long as you're willing to learn. I can teach you how to work in the restaurant business. But one thing you can't teach, and it's true across the board with sports, with school, you can't teach heart. You can't teach desire. You can't teach someone to be enthusiastic about what it is they're doing. So that's the only skill set that I really look for. I mean, you know, unfortunately, those aren't things that people write on their resume. So those are things that we find out as we move along. But I hired people who young, right out of school, people who may have had a situation with probation, people who have, may have graduated from culinary school. And each and every one of them, it's been a different experience with everybody. So I just look for people that's driven, that just want to learn.
And I just want to add on to that. So that means no matter what job you have, let's say he says, or anyone else says, listen, the only job I have is to dishwash dishes. You become the best dishwasher. You can. Because you know what, let me do this fine. No matter where you go, they'll see that. Some people say, oh, I hate this job. No matter what job you have, try to do it to the best of your ability. Give it 110%. Somewhere, that same attitude will pay off.
And just to piggyback off of that, I mean, my place is really busy. We have hundreds of people out there, and there's a need wherever there's the need. If the need is in the dish room, and I have a suit on, I go downstairs, roll up my sleeves, and I'm the head dishwasher. Like I get in there, and, I make a change on what's going on because like my passion is there. So, I'm enthusiastic about doing it as opposed to some people, one of the things that, I'll bring this up with you guys. One of the things that's forbidden in Jacksonville, you can't have your underwear showing and your pants sagging at Jacksonville because I have this thing where I believe that it speaks directly to your motivation. You can't even move fast with your pants down like that. So when I need something done, like I'm moving, and more than likely I'll do it, before I get anyone else to do it. But it's a very good point of what you just mentioned. Just being driven, motivated, and that'll really turn over into anything that you're doing. I don't care if it's sports, if it's you want to be a doctor. How many of us want a doctor who's going to operate on us that's not really motivated about what he's doing? You want people that's doing it compassionate about what they're doing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, piggyback on what he said also, be careful with your Facebook pics now. Some people just want to take show their underwear, throwing gang signs, this and this. You don't know how long that picture might stick around. So years later, if you apply at his place or anywhere else, that person might also look at their Facebook. They say, oh wow, that picture's still up, you know what I mean? So, try to be conscious. I know you have to be fashionable, and from the 80s or whatever, but don't go to extremes, especially at the place of work. If you're at work, don't do that, you know what I mean? Okay, and another question, I think one more question you got here.
What was your most popular dish?
She asked, what's his most popular dish?
The most popular dish. Well, the best thing about owning a restaurant is I can take all the foods that I like and I can put it on the menu. I made my own menu. So through the years, I've traveled all around the world and I've gathered, a volume of different dishes that I like. So, but the best part about that is that they all sell equally as well. So we do things like chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits, which is a southern favorite. We do some fantastic pastas. We do some Latin, Caribbean dishes. Like, arguably right now, I think because Jacksonville, goes through some trends, they have a smoked apple jerk chicken. That's, serious. You see that face?
Yeah, I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. Now we're talking food. We have to change the topic.
But, the one dish that I say at Jacksonville is a signature item. All the dishes I create the recipes, and then I teach my staff. I have a very good, high quality chef staff at my place that can make anything. But the one dish that I have not taught anyone to make is my sweet potato cheesecake. So I'm the only one who makes it. So a lot of times we may be out because we sell it, a lot. But that's a dish you guys want to come to Jacksonville, ask for the sweet potato cheesecake.
You don't have to come to school. I'm a weekend from Brooklyn. I'm going to have to pay 2 tolls just for that cheesecake. Okay, so anyway, let's give it up for Mr. Mike Jackson. Okay, so now we're going to segue into the history of hip-hop music. For this forum here, I just want to go around and present who we have. We have Mr.
Hall.
Mr. Hall. Ernesto. Brian. James. Now these 3 represent the School of Technology. Thalia. Brenda. Casey. And these 3 represent the School of Culinary Arts. I'm Mr. Rodriguez, and this is
Mr. Cash.
Mr. Cash. Okay, a big round of applause for you guys. Okay, now first we start with the question, how did hip hop start? Now the young man here, you had a question, you said you knew how hip hop started, what year?
Like around 82.
Okay, you were close. What did you say?
Like in
Okay, he said the 90s. Okay, he said 82 now, he's a little closer. Actually started during the early 70s. And from there, we're going to segue to Mr. Cash, who's going to give you a better explanation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Rodriguez. I don't know, where do we start? I guess we're going to start with the person and the peoples that you say who really helped form hip hop. And it started in the Bronx, New York. They say the BX, the Bronx, New York. A guy by the name of DJ Kool Herc, and a guy by the name of Africa Bambaataa with the Zulu Nation. And they are the ones that pretty much the pioneers and the pillars, if you will, of the hip hop community. And you had the Grandmaster Flashes and the Furious Five, but Kool Herc and Africa Bambaataa really are the ones that pioneered hip hop. DJ Kool Herc, like I said once again, from the Bronx, also Africa Bambaataa, and they created something called the Zulu Nation, which was pretty much the pioneers and pillars of hip hop in the Bronx, New York, East Coast. And that's where it started at. Now, here's the thing about hip-hop back in those days. They didn't take care of beefs by fighting and guns and shooting. They took care of their beefs by the microphone. Back in the late 70s when hip-hop first started, it wasn't called rapping. You weren't a rapper. You were called an MC, which stood for microphone controller. And that's when it used to really go down. You used to go to the park, you had microphones, you had a DJ, and I think Mr. Rodriguez talked about this one time before. They would take extension cords to the poles in the park, and that's how they would get the electricity and power for their turntables. They didn't have computers, they didn't have none of that. They had turntables. They were two big albums, they called them vinyl records. And the DJ would scratch over a break beat, and the MC would control the park, control the party, and that's how they took care of their beat. So uptown would be against downtown, up the hill against down the hill. Not in fighting, not with violence, but on the microphone, by rapping, by skills, by bars. And people in the audience or the park or the club, while the standing ovations would tell you who won the battle. And guess what? After that, the beef was over. They gave each other a pound, and we moved on. And that's what happened. That's how hip-hop really started, and now went to a whole nother level, just to give you a synopsis of what it's about.
And during that time also, like I said, the main thing he said, everyone was creative. Now you had to be creative with the rhymes. It wasn't about how much you cursed, it's how creative you were with the words. That's what got you the respect. And you know, people were creative, like I said, just trying to see where they get the electricity from. DJing, someone discovered, oh wow, I could, you know, scratch these records back and forth. Now DJ's a worldwide phenomenon, it's all over the world, all the big guys. So from hip hop, a lot of things transitioned from there. Now, as the 80s went on, you know, we had a couple different movements. Now, actually, what was I think it was in 86 or whatever, you know, there was a lot of violence going on and the self-destruction came out.
Right.
Remember that?
Stop the violence movement. There was a lot of violence in hip hop. So I can't remember who it was that came up with the album. But it was
KRS-One.
KRS-One. D-Nice. That's right. And it was a collaboration of all of the rap artists who were very popular at the time. They got together. They put out an album called Stop the Violence in hopes that the listeners of hip-hop music would get the message and just kind of chill out with all of the beefs on the streets.
Here's something that's interesting. A lot of people don't know this, but Billboard magazine and other people that was in the music industry predicted that hip-hop would only last 15 years.
That's right.
In 1978, 1979, when Sugar Hill Gang came out with all those songs, and Spoon and G, Grandmaster Flash, on and on and on, they projected that hip-hop would be 15 years. Well, last time I checked, 1978 to 2014 is more than 15 years. It wasn't that good in math, but I know that's more than 15 years.
Yeah, not only that, but it became the biggest selling kind of music.
Absolutely.
I think it overtook rock at one point, or they're very close by. Yeah, it exceeded everyone's expectations. So, okay, as the years went on, the 90s, so I guess there were different movements.
Right.
So, during the 90s, okay, we had to stop the violence, okay, then we spoke about NWA, this group of that's when gangster rap was born.
Right.
The reason that came out, people said, okay, because they were being oppressed by the police. We had the Ronnie King incident. You know, even though their lyrics, I mean, a lot of people frown upon their lyrics, but it was done and it's sold. But then from there, whenever you have that bad element, you need good element to counteract it. So as you had Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, more conscious type of
Conscious.
like Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest.
De La Soul. It was actually called Native Tongue. The Native Tongue.
Right.
Jungle Brothers.
Yeah,
They didn't wear gold, they didn't wear jewelry. They pretty much was conscious rappers.
Exactly. So then, you know, as years went on, okay, so everything was, there were different phases. So then, I guess during the late 90s, who knows, okay, well, you guys were born in the late 90s. That's when we had the shiny suit era.
Yeah.
You know, Puff Daddy
Bad
came
Boy,
out.
Biggie, Craig Mack.
Yeah. That's when rappers started hanging out with Donald Trump. So, you know, back then, that whole era, Donald Trump, all the big people of America, they said, oh, no, I would never hang out with a rapper. But this guy, Puff Daddy, you know, he broke down a lot of doors.
Even before him, Run DMC really took rap or hip hop to a plateau.
Oh, they collaborated with the rock group.
Right.
Walk This Way.
Oh, Walk This Way, exactly.
Which actually was a crossover.
Open the doors.
Now here's something interesting. Those same people, please check this out. Those same people who said that rap would not last 15 years, those same people that dismised it are the same people that saw how big it was, and now their money began to invest in those same people that they said wouldn't last.
Yeah.
Interesting, because it became here's the key word, it became a culture. Hip hop became a culture, not just music.
Yeah, and going to add on what he said, actually at one point the Japanese, Public Enemy, were recorded for the Japanese because the Japanese bought Sony. Sony owned Def Jam. And you know, they had the money, but like you said, when something gets big, some people just want to chase with the dollar, you know, and that's not, it's good and bad, and, you know. But it actually grew, so okay, as years went on, now we're into the new age now. Now we want to go around, who are your favorite rappers? Now tell me, what do you like about rap music and what you don't like about rap music? Anyone want to volunteer?
I like rap music because sometimes they do clever words or awesome things.
Okay, so you like the beat and the words. Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Delton?
No questions? All right. Now, what you don't like about it? Is there anything you don't like?
Cursing and sometimes they read rappers that don't even make sense.
Okay, cursing and rap that doesn't make sense.
Mm,
Can you give me an example of some
90% of
rapper?
this song sound.
What is it?
Yeah.
What?
Someone that doesn't make sense.
I'm not gonna say.
Talia?
Little Wayne does not make sense at all.
Oh, Lil Wayne. Okay.
Oh,
Really?
I love Lil Wayne.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Some people might differ. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Lil Wayne either. But,
No, it's good. I like that.
but I heard lyrically he's pretty good. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He is. It's just that if you actually focus on his songs and you actually listen to lyrics, you're like, what?
Oh,
About
okay.
how to love.
Oh, how to
Oh,
go?
where's the Chief Keef? He don't make sense at all.
Chief Keef?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Chief Keef.
These are all the new guys.
These are new guys.
Yeah.
Little
So-
Wayne's song.
So here's the question. If they don't make sense, then why are they still selling platinum albums?
Because of the rhythm.
Because of the beat and the rhythm.
Okay.
So it's the beat,
I
the
think
rhythm.
people listen to them because of shooting and cursing and stuff like that.
You still have to be creative though. Even for the rappers that talk about those lyrics or say those, you still have to, they have to be a creative element. You have to be creative. You know, just like Drake now. A lot of people say, oh, I don't like Drake, but Drake is very talented. Am I right or wrong?
It's very
He's singing
good.
in Spanish now.
Yeah.
Creative.
He's tapped into the market, the Hispanic market, Caucasian market, African American market, crossover market, underground market. I mean, he really.
I like Drake.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, you have to be original. Even like Kanye West, he was different. Original. He was the first one actually to take a song about Jesus. And people say, oh my God, you cannot rap about Jesus. He took it and he made a top 10 hit. You know, so he did it in a creative way that it was still played in the clubs. And yet, you know, so you're always going to have people like that. Now, going back to what you said about the beats, it's funny because nowadays, do you think it's easier to make hip hop beats than back then?
Of course.
It's harder.
It's harder? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you guys, it's actually easier. You are,
MP60.
well, not even MP60. Okay, well, during the 90s, people were using the MPC 60, the SP1200. You have to buy equipment. Nowadays, people are doing it with software and a computer.
Yeah.
You know, I forgot the name of this kid. Some kid did it on some $20 whatever software, some beat, and someone signed him up.
$20.
Something like that. Some little. Actually, no, I think he got it free. He said he downloaded it free. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, you know, so I guess, do you guys think the music's gonna continue growing, or it's gonna fade? What do you think? You think it'll continue growing?
Because people have different ideas for the future and stuff. So they're going to make new things and people are going to like it.
They're gonna like it, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's gonna continue growing. Like I said, during that time too, you had different types.
We have Spanish throughout Asia, Europe, as well as worldwide. And it all started in the Bronx, as we said, and it just continued from there. Okay, so I guess that was a good forum. The main thing to take from this is to always keep it positive. All right, Mr. Cash?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, until the next time.
Take care.